Hello everyone. A wonderful day all of you. Welcome to our Institution of Global Professional Free International webinar. My lovely audience, today I am your host. I am Kamrul from Bangladesh. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to be associated with IGP as a global member and I feel honored to host this webinar and it's my delight to welcome you all to our Institution of Global Professional. Thank you all again for joining with us in this marvelous afternoon session. And it's my delight to welcome you all to our institution. Before starting our program, I request you to share this today's webinar in your newsfeed. And time to time, you like our Facebook page and subscribe our YouTube channel. And don't forget to tag and mention your friends. So let's together and learn together. Before we have completed our 460 webinars successfully, today I will be presenting webinar number 461 and the topic is the art of preparing quality research article. Today we have a speaker from India. Today our speaker name is Dr. Shobik Ganguly. She is Assistant Professor, Department of Electrical and Instrumentation Engineering, Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology. Let's welcome our speaker to the screen. Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Kamrul. Once again, a very warm welcome
Thank
from IGP, and I hope that we should wish also our audience good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever, whichever part of the world you are. And I think I'm audible, and I can start,
Yes, sir.
Kamrul,
You
with
can
your
start your
permission.
presentation. Yes, sir. You can
Right,
start your presentation.
right, right, right. So, as Kamrul has rightly introduced me, I am in the Department of Electrical and Instrumentation Engineering, serving in the department for the last 13 years almost. It has been a long journey throughout, and it is in Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology. This is situated in the northern part of India, namely the city is called Patiala, and it is situated in the northern region of our India. So we would like to take up a very important um, decision today before we are writing for any research article. So we must ensure the quality of the research article, and at the same time, we also will go through a process in which we will try to understand each and every step of learning that how we can uh, start writing. What are the ideas, what are the research ideas that we have, what will the topic, what will be our requirement, what will be the motivation of the work. Likewise, we can have also how will I choose a particular journal, uh, what should be the different sections that we need to have. Also, we would like to highlight over here some fraud and malpractices in publishing also at the same time, which you must be aware of, and whether we will do any duplicate submission to a journal. Is it is not allowed as such. It is not allowed, and when we can submit a dual article, that we also need to look into. We also need to ensure about the originality of our research article. That's why the topic for today's discussion is on the originality, or rather the quality of the research article, how to prepare a quality research article. So we will go step by step smoothly through the different parts, taking you through some basic steps also in preparing how will you prepare your manuscript, and how to develop a quality manuscript, and what are the different aspects related to the writing tips, which this will also tell you in the process. And at the same time, we will tell you about the different sections that you must prepare. Sometimes we are reviewing some articles, quality research articles, and we are facing these type of problems. Often we are encountering problems with respect to the different sections that we create. So, what should be the requirements? What should be our mandatory requirements that we should follow certain guidelines, and what should we keep for the introduction section? How will I prepare my literature or related works? How will I put my problem at the same time? And finally, you come across that how will I take that feedback from our colleagues, from our collaborators, from while presenting in a particular conference, what we feedback we'll get, and if we submit any preprint anywhere, some uh, archiving of our manuscript, what feedback do we receive, and also from our writing groups as well. So, what kind of feedback that we get. So these type of things will come across, and how to submit an article, what should be the review process, what are the different stages that we have, what are the different types of peer review that your journal will go through, and at the same time we will tell you elaborately about the peer review process as well. So in this way we will also discuss about how will you respond to your reviewer comments when you are getting your manuscript being reviewed by some of your reviewers, and you are getting some comments, how to respond, and what are the top reasons, top 10 reasons I'll say about rejections, and how will you make the job to your editor a little bit easier. So these are some of the highlights that we are going to tell you about. So we will not take any examples, particular examples on my research background or my research articles. Rather we should follow a smooth pace for which for every one of you to enjoy and learn as maximum as you can from my delivery. And at the same time, your question and answer sessions at the end are, of course, there to help you out with certain questions or the queries that you may come up with, and we can discuss the solutions. We'll try to address each and every query that is there in your mind. So, of course, starting from the a very basic topic that we are highlighting today. It's the art of preparing your research article, or rather, we should call it art of preparing quality research article. So our focus points are how do you prepare it, what are the starting points, and after preparation, what are the different hurdles that you select, that what are the different forms of journals that you are taking into account, into consideration, how to take into account the aim and scope of the journal, and which after submission to a particular journal you get some review comments. It is expected that you get some review comments, and based upon the review comments, how will you prepare your reviewer, how will you address your reviewer so that they get satisfied. And with this we can uh, go through the entire process of journal publication. So our focus point today is on a journal publication, because once we are calling it a quality article, of course we are not calling it a new article that is being experimented through presentation in a conference. So we would like to highlight only on the journal article. Absolutely. So today's discussion, before we are starting the writing process, first of all, let me brief you. Before we are starting the writing process, what are the things that we need to understand thoroughly? First of all, the selection of the topic, what topic you are selecting. Say, for example, I work in the area of system and control, and I also work in the area of metaheuristics. So, of course, when we are talking about controlling, so what type of controlling action will I develop? What is my topic? Say, for example, I am doing a control on a permanent magnet motor, or I am doing some control mechanism for any nonlinear system. So, likewise, we have to choose a particular topic or choose a particular area in which we would like to conduct our research or like to publish our article, right? So first of all is the choice of the topic. How do I choose a topic? You may have some of your collaborators along with you. You may be having some of your friends or some of your colleagues in the discussion process. We can have also our students. Say, for example, currently I'm having two of my students doing a PhD or a PhD work under my supervision, and one of them is doing a master's level thesis with me. So there are three students currently in direct contact with me, although we have some undergraduate students who are performing very excellent research works during the process, and they have been able to highlight a lot of research areas. Say, for example, taking me through big data, taking me through biomedical devices, everything they have tried out. So they come up with a different research idea. So that's why we are saying that the topic selection is depends upon how you are proceeding for it. So whether we are proceeding for a conference, whether we are proceeding for a journal article, or whether that particular journal article will be a Web of Science article, or SCI or SCIE indexed article, or if you are from arts background, you may be targeting any SSCI journal. You may be also targeting some ABDC journal as well. So different types of journals or different types of requirements. You may be targeting even a Scopus journal as well. So different topics or a different ideology that you may follow for a publication. Once a noteworthy point over here that I'd like to mention, that do not be very much hesitant for a particular publication from bringing about certain publication. It will definitely make the quality, it will definitely deteriorate your quality of your research articles. So don't make in a hurry that we have to prepare and there is some deadline, 1 month we have to prepare so many articles. Not the so not the case. So first of all, you decide upon the topic. You want to have some brainstorming sessions. How do you decide your topic? Another these days we Google anything, and we go through the different journals. Say, for example, if we go through Science Direct, if we go through IEEE Explore, we will get similar articles. So we'd like to read certain articles, develop some new ideas, or find out the gaps in those research. So that can be also the topic selection. So depending upon how you are preparing your topic. Say, for example, right now we are working on induction motor drive. So we are trying to develop a control mechanism for the induction motor drive. uh, be very frank, from the layman point of view, induction drive motor drive is the most commonly used drive in any industry. Almost 80% to 90% of your industrial drives are constituting of induction motor drives. So it is one of the most popular mechanisms, and we will have plenty of research ideas, research articles already being published. So what's new in it? What's the motivation of your work? So my next topic is, how do you get motivated for choosing a particular topic? How do you get the motivation to get onto a new topic of or selection, or what are the motivations, what are the novelty in the work that you would like to perform, right? What is the need of this particular work, or what is the need of this particular, or what is the requirement of this particular research? uh, Obviously, every society has to be getting benefited. So some sort of societal role must be put into, or the importance of that particular research must be put into, which we are calling it as a motivation of the work, or which we are calling it as a need of the work, or the requirements of the work. Next, we before this is prior to starting or start writing your work. This is prior to what we are writing or what we are producing in the research article. This is prior to starting. So another important aspect is, what are the options do we have? Do we have our student to be working on it? Do we have enough resources in our laboratories? Do we want to carry out any experimental work during the process? What are the options that we have, that we need to have? Is there any simulation work? Say, for example, we had been doing plenty of simulation work due to lack of infrastructure, or lack of lab infrastructure or lab availability or experimental validation due to the COVID pandemic situation. So we had been practicing a lot of simulation work, lot of work related to optimization, which we can do at our home, which we can perform at our beyond working hours. In the weekend time also we can sit on and perform the simulation work as well. So this is one of the methods by virtue of which you can progress with your work. But for the time being, we need to look out for the options that are available for your research, whether you'd like to carry out any questionnaire or whether you want to take any primary data collection is required or not. So these options must also be there. Okay, so before we start writing any research article, any quality research article, the topic selection is most essential. And of course, what is the motivation or what is the novelty of the work, what is the need for this work, how will my society will get benefited by this particular work, and what are the options do I have, whether I have my resources, whether I have my collaborators, they are agreeing for whatever topic we decided to work on. Okay, whether my colleague is also participating in the process, whether any student is being participating, and also whether we want to, if it's a preliminary work, whether we want to first of all validate it through a conference article and then proceed with the journal part. That is also our within our reach. So this is how we start developing the concept, and we start developing our ideas into writing a research article. So some of the topics that we have highlighted so far is how, before we start writing, how do we go about in choosing a topic, how do we go about in looking into the motivational part and looking into the societal need. And for last, societal need is also equally important. Say for example, let me give you a very interesting example. Just a few days back, or perhaps 2 weeks back, we have filed international patent, and that is definitely based on the need that the situation is demanding. Say for example, we are having COVID situation prevailing for almost 3 years, almost close to 3 years, even more. So we are trying to prepare a contactless door buzzer. Say for example, anybody who is knocking near your door, he will not get touch with the door buzzer, so there will be contactless. How, I'll not tell you because it is already filed, it is not published yet. So how, will not discuss here. And whether there is any robbery taking place when you are not at your home, that message alert must also be going to that place. So this is how the societal need or the need of the hour is to prepare some contactless door buzzer or an IoT based home security system, right? So the first thing that I talk about is a door buzzer. Why it is required? You don't need to press the knob of the door buzzer. You will simply get the message alert from your house owner that somebody is knocking at the door or somebody has reached your door, and you will be immediately getting a message alert and you will open the door, right? Second thing, you are not at your home and some robbery is taking place, you will be immediately getting a message alert, and you will immediately report to the local police station. So this is how we go about it. So need of the hour, societal need, societal benefit. So definitely these type of examples will definitely give you a very good idea that how do we choose a topic, how do we go about the options, how do we understand the motivation of the study, how is the important of the contribution of this work. Rather we will focus on it a little later, where we'll highlight upon in the introduction part that we should at least have 4 to 5 novel contributions of my research, whichever communication you are having, be it in a conference, be it in a Scopus Index journal, be it in a top quality research article. We will always focus on what is the contribution of this particular work that we are carrying out. And finally, what are the different options that we have, whether we want to experiment it whether we want to validate it through simulation or whether it will be both, depending upon the resources available, depending upon the lab facilities that you have. Say for example, if my institute is not having enough infrastructure of my of electric vehicles, so how will I carry out any research on electric vehicle? So definitely I'll do some preliminary simulation work, or I'll write a research project, and I'll seek from the funding institute some funds. I'll generate some funds, develop some lab infrastructure, and then I can work on a quality research article. So definitely these are some of the processes that all our researchers will have definitely undergone. And I hope that my audience is there who is working upon some of the research articles. They are in the process of their master's degree, they are in the process of their PhD thesis as well. So how they will get encouraged and how they will look into this process, by virtue of which we can understand that when and how do we think, and what are the topics that we are deciding, and what are the options that we like to carry out, and definitely what is the motivation of this particular work. This must be discussed, this must be brainstormed with your colleagues, with your research collaborators, with your I should say your students, whoever is participating in your work, right? So the second thing that we would like to decide upon is to choose a journal before we are starting. Or once we decided the topic, once we told that this will be my research topic, this will be my motivation, this will be the societal benefit that I'll extract out of this work, and I'll operate it with simultaneously with a simulation as well as an experimental validation, right? So if I go in this manner, we need to have certain choice for a journal. When we are choosing a particular journal, what are the different options that we have? What are my publishing options? Whether I'll discuss it with my fellow colleagues, whether how will my publications be assessed, right? So whether it's a conference publication or a journal publication, how many reviewers will be there, what kind of a review process, we will also elaborate it in a due course of time in my lecture also, that how will I go about the review process, whether it will be a blinded review, whether it will be a single blinded review, whether it's a double blinded review, and what we understand by this blinded review and all those things. What are my potential journals? That's most important. So there is a trick out here. You you complete the abstract of your paper, you give a tentative title for the paper, right? And you discuss the work, what are the works you would like to carry out, what is the objective of your work, what is the methodology, what is the outcome of this particular research, and tentatively what are the future scope and what are the present limitations also, sometimes if you want to refer. So you must understand clearly your potential journal. Say for example, I'll require to submit one research article on control system, and I am sending it to a journal of soft computing. Will it be acceptable? Certainly not, unless and until some soft computing research aspects are discussed in that particular article, right? Say for example, some journal is publishing on neural and fuzzy network, so definitely I have to include certain works related to neural and fuzzifications, right? So obviously you must identify your potential journals. You must carefully read each and every aim and scope of this particular journal, so that you don't you submit a paper in about 7 or 8 journals and you get rejected, which we call as the desk rejection. That is rejected from the editorial board itself, that we call as the desk rejection. So we will not accept desk rejection, right? So before that, some journal finders are definitely there. for each and every publishing house or the top publishing house, you have a journal finder. Nowadays, no need for looking for any website. It is, if you Google it, you will get journal finder for Springer. You'll get journal finder for your elsewhere articles. You'll get journal finders for your Wiley articles. You'll get journal finders for your Tell and Francis articles as well. So these 4 or 5 names which I have uttered, simply you Google it, you will get the journal finder link, and they ask 2 things. One is a probable title or the manuscript title, and they'll ask you about the abstract or the work that you would like to cut paste, right? So preferably give your abstract. That will help you to smoothly find out the relevant journals in which you want to publish, or where there is a maximum probability that your manuscript will be processed for review, rather than wasting time, write an article and send it to somewhere where there is no such articles, right? So relevant articles must be published. The relevant readership must be known to you. Whoever are the readers of that particular journal, that must be known to you before you are sending it to a particular journal. That's why I thought that I should discuss about choosing a particular journal. Now, there are certain fraud and malpractices. These are going on in this present scenario of COVID, and this has increased due to the COVID. This has increased rapidly due to the COVID. Some fraud and some misleading persons with the incorrect information, they are trying to fool you, and they are asking you that we will publish your article within 30 to 45 days. There are plenty of advertisements that we see every day in the Facebook page. They'll put a request, they'll put a that so and so authors are available. So they will not ask you to collaborate, they will simply ask you, you put your money and get your work published. So do not fall prey to such malpractices in publishing. Such frauds are definitely there, and they had always been there, but due to the COVID situation, this has increased rapidly because people are not finding a way to carry out further their research. We will also discuss at certain point of time certain things that you would like to highlight upon and like to see upon, that how we have carried out research in the preceding 3 or 4 years down the line, how we have been able to enjoy the COVID situation. I'll say enjoy the COVID situation, and discuss with our research collaborators and discuss with our students online. And through online mode, we have been able to correct, and we have been able to do it at ease, the publications, right? So do not fall prey to such malpractices. There are some predatory publishers as well. Some false publications are going on. Those will not be published in the actual journal itself. They are creating some false websites, and they are publishing that in those websites with some volume issue, with those logo of the journals as well. So it is better that you identify those predatory publishers. Those publishers are definitely doing some malpractices in the publishing houses. I'll not say that all open access articles are through malpractices, but there are some hints that we have got in recent times. I'll not name those publishers, and they are doing some huge amount of publications, and they are doing it within a month's time. They're reviewing it within a month's time and doing some good job with some processed fee, with some article processing fee. I'll not name those publishers. There are also top publishers who are also doing such type of work. Some agents are also working behind in the special issues. This is another remarkable thing. You get more special issues than the actual issues of the journal. You get more special issues than the actual issues of the journal. Why is it so? Because the publishers are making a huge money out of it. They are making a huge article processing fee. Few universities or few institutes are also financing them. There are few institutes, I'll not name them. They are also financing them to publish in those, right? Somebody requested me just 2 days back that why don't we join hands in publishing. I said yes, okay, why don't we go ahead. So what is your area of research? He told that I am from computer science and I have found that your research profile is excellent, and we can collaborate on certain topics. Okay, so I agreed. Okay, so let me give you give you uh, let me concentrate on your work. And when I found there were publications involving 8 to 10 authors, there were publications involving plenty of persons whom he doesn't know, and most of the journals, those they are publishing in open access, having article processing fee, and at the same time those publications are taking place within a month or a 2 months time, which is very absurd. And he is committing that we will publish at least 25 to 30 papers in a month. I said, how do you do it? Who is writing for you? Right? So do not fall prey to such activities. Do not fall prey to such malpractices that are taking place. It's You can publish 3 or 4 genuine articles if you are writing. If you are not in a group, you can write 3 to 4 articles, and that will help you to sustain in your life, or that will help you to sustain in your present institute. So don't fall into this rat race, and do not try to publish more than 4 articles. Of course, those you are writing with your collaborators, you must be aware of that what kind of articles you are publishing with them, what is there inside the article, you must be aware of. Because see, say promotions in your defense, phd defense or something of that sort, you will be definitely asked your contribution of your work, right? So over there you must be able to thoroughly defend that particular work, and if that work is not in very much high volume, of course you will be able to defend it quickly. Okay, so my humble submission that do not go in for the predatory services. They are having some professional looking websites. They are preparing your manuscript, they are doing the editing job. Even some journals or top reputed journals, they are giving author services. Okay, so what do they do? They check your grammars, which you can check through your grammarly, right? They are checking your plagiarism, which you can use your institute's different plagiarism softwares that you have. Those are already available to your institute, right? So nothing doing. Concentrate on your quality, concentrate on your research, and uh, the submissions, you must be able to produce the evidence of those submissions, right? And always try to try to correspond yourself your article, unless and until your guide, your mentor, your supervisor, or your colleague, or your research collaborator is doing it. At least you must know the people with whom you are working with. Okay, so do not get into the rat race of publication. And this has happened due to the covid situation, and several people have become jobless. They are trying to find out this as a means to exercise and try to utilize this particular venture as setting up of industry. This is not a setting up of industry. Damn shit, damn shit. It is they are not setting up any industry. They are not developing any industry, right? So what they are doing absolute misery to the quality of the research article. What they are doing basically, they are not doing. They are writers. They are not researchers. They are not doing any research work, right? So I was, it happened to me that I was reviewing some article in which I found that there was no, absolutely no work being carried out in the name of research, in the name of IoT and machine learning. They have not done anything. Okay, they have drawn some Excel, which some plots or figures which they have drawn it using Excel, and those data, you will be astonished to know that those data were absolutely fabricated data. They are not real data, they are not realistic data at all. They will not be able to provide any code corresponding to the data they have generated, or whatever Python coding they have done, they will not be able to produce, right? So do not fall prey to such publishing houses, or do not fall prey to such predatory publishers or some fake persons doing publications on your behalf. No, this is not done. Publications are, of course, you must be aware of your article, your correspondence. Okay, maybe your mentor or your supervisor may correspond. It is between you and your collaborators, it is between you and your mentor, right? There should not be any third party involved, that I'll give you so and so research positions, I'll give you second position, I'll give you third position, I'll give you sixth position, and the amount will keep on varying. Okay, so but how have you contributed in that research? Nothing. You haven't contributed anything in that particular research. Now coming to the idea of whether we can have duplicate submission in the journal. Before we move on, for actually the research articles, whether we can have the dual submission in the journal. No, this is not absolutely acceptable. Not even of two publishing houses. I'll not say encourage that you should submit the same article to two different journal articles, two publishing houses. No, this is not acceptable. But multiple pre-submissions, when it is okay and when it is not, that we need to check out for. And in case if it is in another language, say for example you are writing any article in English and Persian, right? But with adequate means there should be not be a plagiarism issue as well. Okay, or you want to post it, say for example we are seeing some research journals, say I have personally checked out with soft computing. Whenever you submit any article in soft computing journal of Springer, there is an automatic access of research square. They post it in research square, okay, so that it is visible to the audience. This is another way. Sometimes your research, say for example the biomedical researchers or some researchers carried out during the COVID-19 situation, they want to pre-publish, right? They want to archive it immediately before it is getting published, because so many researchers are working on the same area, right? So they want to put it on archive, they want to put it on biomedical archives, right? So there are several archiving sites as well which are available. So you can archive your work so that it is published before any researchers can claim on it that they have carried out or you have cheated that particular work. And how can say for example I am working with a particular metaheuristic technique, right? I'm modifying it in my own way. How can people get the copy of that, right? So it's never possible. We had, let me share you one of the things. There were two chaotic chicken swarm optimization already available in the literature, and we were claiming that we had made a novel swarm intelligence technique which was also a chaotic version of chicken swarm optimization. Believe me, we had been able to pre-address all the novelties associated. And even when the reviewers asked us that how is it different from those works which are already published, we have been able to defend it thoroughly. There was not absolutely any issue related to publishing or relating to uh, defending of that particular article when we had our work being defined thoroughly, right? So regarding duplicate submission, obviously no, in terms that when we are sending it to two different journals at the same time, right, or two different publishing houses, no, my answer is absolutely no. But if your research is such a in such a domain that you want to publish it immediately, and you are in a fear that some competitors of yours are going to publish it, then you can archive it, or some journal compulsion must be there in which it is already published in some open access repository. So publishing it in a repository and then submitting it in a journal, that is a different issue, but for which you have to be a very renowned author, for which you can claim your archiving as well. Okay, it's not that you have developed two mathematical formulas and you want to put it in archive, not at all required. So if it's a complete work and you are thoroughly aware of that, that work will certainly be published, definitely go for the archiving of that work. In that case, archiving is a means by virtue of which we can say it as a duplicate publication, or some repository as well. Some biomedical researchers are putting something in repository as well. So if it is in repository, uh, definitely you must be able to recall, or from that particular repository you can cite your reference and publish it in a quality journal. Now, coming to the quality of your work, the originality of your work, how will I test it? So there are several plagiarism softwares, for example, Turnitin, iAuthenticate. So these softwares will help you to remove the plagiarism, or the plagiarism that may occur. Sometimes you are writing on your own, but still you may encounter, due to the usage of certain common terms, right, for which you require some reframing. You require some reframing of your phrases so that it evades your plagiarism, right? Honestly speaking, for any good particle publication, we expect your plagiarism to be within 10%, if not within 10, at least within 15%. And there should not be self plagiarism as well. Self plagiarism is also not allowed for your quality research article. It is not acceptable that you have done some work and that particular work has been referred, even if it is referenced, they will not accept your work. Okay, and if you are if they are able to catch you even at the time of your proofreading, they will definitely reject you. So you must ensure the originality of your work. Do not copy paste from anywhere and try to publish it as your own work. There are several softwares available already, like Quillbot, Spinbot, like that. You can do the rephrasing, but do also check after rephrasing that has been carried out. Do also positively check that they have not disturbed the meaning of your sentence. Sometimes it happens when you are doing or taking the help of your software, they can change the meaning of your sentence, right? So originality of the work is very much essential. Originality of the work is very much essential, and you must also avoid the self plagiarism. You must also avoid the self plagiarism as well, right? So this is another important aspect that we need to look into before we are publishing our work, or we are going for some submission in a reputed journal. Right? We are talking about some top publishing houses in the form of IEEE, in the form of Elsevier, in the form of Vele, in the form of Taylor and Francis, in the form of Springer. Right? So when we are publishing some articles in top renowned journals, say for example, if that particular journal is within top 50 or top 100 amongst the journals, those are published in the field of computer science or in the field of electrical engineering or any field of yours, definitely they must ensure a pre-check for the originality of your research article and the novelty of your research article before they proceed to send it to the reviewers. Okay, so these are some of the aspects that we thought that we should discuss, that it is obviously being discouraged that your article should be plagiarism free. If you have any participant from the mathematics background, the mathematics journals, they do not take into account the plagiarism issues too much, because there are several mathematical formulas, several mathematical symbols being used. So they do not come under the plagiarism issues unless and until you are repeating any symbols. If you are using any repetition of symbols, definitely that would be caught off. Otherwise, the maths journals, they are excluded from these plagiarism based issues. Now, some basic tips that we would like to give on the manuscript preparation. Before we are preparing for your manuscript, and what are the sections that you must prepare, which sections will be prepared first, which should be prepared later on. Likewise, we need to focus now for the next 10 minutes or so. I'll be focusing mainly on this. First of all, I'll insist that you read a lot of research articles. You first read it thoroughly. It is not reading their abstract, it is reading through their entire work, how they have carried out the work, what how they have formulated that particular problem, how they have looked into the methodology section, how they have reproduced their results, and what kind of discussions they have done, what are the limitations of that particular work, if any they have highlighted, and what is the future scope, what that particular work may lead to ahead, right? You must understand these certain points, and unless and until you read at least 20-30 articles, definitely you will not be able to understand a particular topic. Then the topic selection will be absolutely a bizarre for you, right? So after reading a lot of articles till you gain knowledge about a particular topic on a particular field, or selection of topic is done, then you start writing. And when you start writing, what are the things that we need to know? Don't start editing immediately once you have started writing, right? So write it first, prepare the skeleton first, skeleton of the manuscript first, and then emphasize on the editing part. Editing, fine tuning, this will be through. And for people who are from engineering background, or even those who are participating over here from the mathematical background, prepare the result section first. It is better to prepare the methodology and the uh, result section, then you come through to your introduction section, and last and least you should write your uh, abstract. Once you are done with your paper, then only you write your abstract. This is the tip from my side. This is how we would like to proceed with. You prepare the problem statement, you prepare the methodology section, you take some results, you discuss those results, and you conclude. And after that, you go back, depending upon the results you obtain, you work upon the introduction and the related works. These things are a lot easier now once you have prepared the result sections. So preferably prepare the result sections, or prepare the essence of the work first, and then you go into the introduction part and complete the introduction. In the introduction section, one important point must be there, which every reviewer must go through, is what is the highlight of your work? What is the novelty of your contribution? What is the novelty of your work? So you must directly or indirectly specify in a paragraph, specify point wise, that what are the contributions of your research article, what will make others read about your research article. That is most important part of it. Some tips regarding writing the abstract of the article. Some tips for writing the abstract. There are four ground rules which we follow, three or four. Declare the objective of your work in a line, right? Write about the methodology. How do you have achieved that particular objective using some methodology? So, in one or two lines, you will discuss about the methodology section, right? Third, what is the outcome of the research? What is the outcome of the research? Say, for example, if you have any quantitative data, you specify that. Say, for example, I'm using X method and how much it is better as compared to the existing literature methods in terms of some numerical figures and percentages. It's most preferred, right? And finally, what is the future of this particular research, or what is the significance of that particular research? What is the future outcome that we must proceed with, right? So this is my personal tip to you. You go back to your home, take your time, read a quality research article. You will find that whatever I have told is absolutely certain. The objective of the work, specify the objective of the work in first one or two lines, two or three lines for discussing the methodology, that how you have carried out your work, what is the outcome of the research, third statement, and if there is any future research or that you would like to carry out, and the significance of the work, whatever way you want to represent. So this is how every research article abstract is being written. You go back and nurture it, you will be immediately be getting the assessment truly in the true sense, that we will be able to discuss, or will be able to come out neatly all the different aspects of any of our research articles. Now we would like to discuss upon few things, like how do we, when we are preparing any manuscript, what are the different sections I'll make. Normally we are reviewing also, in a month's time, say for example 3 to 4 reviews we are constantly trying to address or give review comments to the different research articles. So in the process we have seen that few research structures or few organization of the paper is not in proper shape, making multiple subsections, unnecessary sections, haphazardly structured. So these type of things we have observed plenty of times. So my thumb rule is introduction should be my first section, right? Second section I'll call it problem statement. In engineering we call it problem statement or problem formulation. Statement of the problem. How do I define my problem? What are the assumptions that are there in this problem, right? What are the limitations? At least one or two limitations must be specified. It should hide it in terms of the assumptions you make, right? So problem statement is my next section. Third section will be my methodology section, where we'll propose some methodology, right? Proposed method or methods, materials and methods. To some researchers, they may focus on this particular term. We call it materials and methods. Clean and clear, right? Then comes results and discussions. If it's a simulation study, you say you can modify it as simulation results and discussions. Okay, you can also put it in the form of results. No need for a separate discussion section. You can put it within the results itself. A para will help you to discuss about the different results or the different outcomes of your experiments, be it through some experimental work, be it through some data collection work, be it through some simulation study using any software. Simple results and discussions. Last the least, you can make it conclusions. You can make it conclusions and some future scope of work. That's it. Final. So simple thumb rule. Make your life simple. Introduction, methods, results, problem statement, methods, or materials and methods, results and discussions, and conclusions. That's it. 5 or 6 good enough. You can make subsections, but not unnecessary subsections. Where it is required, you can put it in the form of subsections. Otherwise, it is not required. Say, for example, I am proposing some hybrid technique where I need to discuss about the parent techniques as well, from which the hybrid technique is being constituted. So, in that case, if you require, if it is necessary to quote the parent techniques in some subsections, you can do it. Right? So, make your life simple and try to address few problems in your introduction section. What is the question at hand, or what is my problem? What problem I am addressing? Right? What is my hypothesis? Or just as I told you, what are my assumptions of my research? What is the problem statement? How do we go about the research, or the roadmap? You may focus on some related works where you will highlight some of the limitations. Another, the foremost important point, the novel contributions or the highlights of the research. One good thing that Elsevier journals, they do have such sort of practice already embedded in their uh, journal submission part. What is that? It is related to, you must highlight the research. What are your research highlights? They ask you to specifically mention it. Over there, you are caught. And if it is not entering the review process, that means something wrong is there in your research highlights. That's why they are not calling your research to be novel, and they are not allowing it for the reviewer. Right? So try to understand these things very clearly before you are submitting any article or a quality research article which you are preparing. Definitely make it a point that how will you focus on your research. Another important aspect is to take a crucial role of your feedback process. Try to understand that you are collaborating with your with some other institutes, you are collaborating with your colleagues, you are presenting some research idea. Normally we present some new research ideas in conferences to get some discussions or get some inputs regarding the research, whether we are going in the right direction or the wrong direction, and then we float it in journal publication. Right? Preprints also, sometimes preprints will also give you some feedback if you are archiving or you are providing it in a repository. That sincere researchers, those are working in your areas, they may also provide you a feedback. Some networking sites or some academic networking sites, if you call it, some writing groups if you have, where you can take a feedback before you are publishing. Of course, when you are setting very novel ideas, definitely you go for this crucial feedback. Then only your importance of feedback is more. Right? Otherwise, if you are submitting it through some research collaborators uh, with some of the works related to your own thesis or something of that sort, definitely your mentors or your supervisors will definitely help you. Now comes the process of submitting to a journal. Submitting, when you are submitting any article to a journal, you will always look into certain choices, the publication choices, whether you want your article to be openly accessed, right? Whether you want it in hybrid mode, or whether you want it that a regular reader or a journal subscriber will only be able to access. Sometimes if you want to create more citation, or if your work is in such a way that you want that the readership should increase immediately, of course you may go in for the open access charges. Otherwise, there is no need. You can wait and you can get through the regular mode of publication. Also, another important thing you must also note that we must also keep our manuscript files, our figure files, our tables, and other data files must be ensured at the time of your submission. Most of the journals, they have online mode as a submission. For your journal, you prefer that online mode. You create your own user ID and password. Do not forget the password, of course. And at the same time, you must keep all your figure files, all your resource files together. If you are working in latex, then also you can keep your data files and make sure that they are readily available at the time of your submission. Permission of images and data, if they are required, definitely seek for the permission. Take copyright permission from the respective publisher, because once it is a published article, you have to take the permission from the publisher itself. It's not from the authors, it's from the publisher that you must take the permission from and proceed with it. You must always specify the email addresses and the ORCID ID of the of all the authors that are there in the publications. It is a very good practice to include all the authors apart from the correspondence that should be made with a particular author, or maybe that corresponding author may be your PhD supervisor or your master degree supervisor as well. So in this way, you have to learn the tricks. You have to provide an agreement that there is with your co-authors before your publishing choices, regarding your publishing choices and the responsibilities. There's an important note out here. Several journals these days are asking for author contribution. How much you have contributed in your paper? How much have you contributed? Whether you develop the concept, whether you develop the code, whether you have written the manuscript, whether you did the proofreading, whether you are a supervisor. So this author contribution must be clearly specified. That's why I'm telling you repeatedly not to go in for these fraud publications with some co-authors being added whom you don't know. So their roles are not decided. Someone is writing it, others are paying for it. So definitely their roles are not decided at all, right? So try to avoid such type of agreements. You must be aware of your own article. There are several types of reviews that are often carried out in some journals at the back end, but you must also learn the things that how do we go about it, or how do we go about the review process. How is the review carried out at the back end? So it can be a double blinded review, it can be a single blinded review, it can be an anonymous, because you often won't put your names in the article. So your reviewer might not be able to know you, that who you are. So obviously there are some open peer review as well. So there are several stages in which your journal, if you see the types of review, you may see that they will immediately say, once you submitted journal with your names included, they will immediately say that put it as anonymous, exclude the names from the list, right? The journals definitely have your records and your co-authors records, but the reviewer will not be able to know that you are from which country, you are from which place, or you are from which institute or so. So name is not revealed. So that is called a blinded review. So you may expect your journals to be carrying out the review process blinded without knowing you. Okay. So definitely your work will make them understand that whether you have clarity in your work, whether you have sufficient novelty in your work, so that they will be uh, uh, able to judge your work thoroughly and able to give you some additional comments for uh, improving upon your work or your research. Now, the next topic that I'd like to highlight is how you will you respond to your reviewer comments. So, first of all, do not become disheartened. Do not become disheartened, and carefully read your decision letter before you are deciding that whether you will like to go on with this research ahead. Sometimes some disheartening remarks are there, but don't get disheartened. That's why I'm telling you. And carefully read the editor's comments, carefully read the reviewer's comments. Sometimes they have they are giving you the comments so as to improve the article. So take it in a positive way and try to address politely all the reviewer comments. If you are not doing any particular work which your reviewer have misunderstood you through your work, through your representation, definitely specify that and humbly request that we have it is beyond the scope of our work, or the experimental validation cannot be carried out. Sometimes they require some justification regarding experimental validation as well. So be polite in responding to your reviewers. Even some you require some consultation with your co-authors as well. If you are preparing any article with your co-authors or your collaborators or your colleagues, definitely some requirements are of course there with respect to the responsibilities. There you have divided the sections, you have divided the work accordingly. You keep on consulting with your co-authors or your co-collaborators or your colleagues. Break down the comments, say category wise preferable, and try to make all the suggested amendments which the reviewer has enlisted. If your reviewer has misunderstood something, kindly give a polite reply and try to explain that matter. Do not be rude with the reviewer. Okay. So do not be rude with the reviewer and try to address as much as you can. And if it is beyond the scope of the work which your reviewer have misunderstood, definitely highlight upon. You have to make your process very easy to your reviewer as well as to your editor. With whatever comments you are addressing, you must also address it properly, politely, and try to mention the amended page number or new material that has been added. If you are highlighting it with some colors, definitely mention that we are highlighting it with this so and so colors in the revised manuscript, so that your reviewer or your editor will able to immediately understand and try to go through it and take a decision on your uh, manuscript. And when you are uh, making some amendments or which you didn't amend, do specify specify that also politely. Do specify that it is beyond our scope of study, so we cannot reflect on or we cannot perform the experimental validation because we have carried out the simulation work. Okay, so be proper in your explanation regarding whichever things you are trying to address and which you are not being able to address, and what is the reason that you are not being able to address that. So try to address in such a way that it is clear and devoid of any frustration, right? So be very clear in accepting that. Try to, because never ever your reviewer is trying to humiliate you. He's trying to make you understand your faults that you have made, right? I too have several publications, but there is only one publication which has not, or which has been through by the for the first time through the reviewers. Every of my research articles have undergone some comments or the other. So never be assured that you will not receive comments. It will be simply be accepted. Never, never ever it will happen. Okay, you will get some revision comments. You may get some desk rejections, and you have to be. It has to be a part of your process. You have to submit. You have to improve upon your quality, and it's a never-ending game. Absolutely, it's a never-ending game. You should be respectful to your reviewers as well. Be polite to your reviewers. Be polite to your editor while addressing the comments. some of the aspects that we must discuss also. Why do we reject any article? It is being sent to a wrong journal. Absolutely, you have not read the aim and scope of the journal. It is not a true, or a, in a true sense we call it a journal article. Maybe some articles that may be published in some low level conference, you have sent it to a high quality journal. The length, often there are some journals who mention the maximum words limit. So the length must not be too long, must not be too short. It should be grammatically correct. You should not write any statement which is grammatically incorrect. And if that is caught, or any punctuation mistake, or any English, if you are not a native speaker, or there are chances that of course we make mistakes. I am too having some mistakes in my English, so I do check it thoroughly. I use the Grammarly software also sometimes to check it thoroughly, right? So try to address the context, try to address some, if you are doing some theoretical work, if it is a poor theoretical framework that we have, there is no novelty in that particular work. This type of works have been done or carried out in the literature, so definitely that will not be acceptable in a quality journal. So that is why we are here for today's discussion on the art of preparing some quality research article. And with this we'll conclude that these are the processes that we have discussed in general: the art of publishing, or art of preparing your manuscript and getting published some quality articles, quality or top research articles. With this, I'll hand it over to IGP. I think Kamrul is there at the backstage. He will take you through in the question and answer session, which I'll be happy, extremely happy to answer you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your outstanding and marvelous presentation. Thank you very much.
Welcome. And I think we'll be performing quiz.
Yes, sir. After quiz
Okay.
competition, we'll come back with our question and answer session.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Fine.
Dear participants, it's our question and quiz competition. After a short video clips, we come back with our question and answer. Dear participants, to join our quiz competition, you have to go to slido.com and the quiz code is quizigp. The code is quizigp. To join our quiz competition, you have to go to slido.com and the quiz code is quizigp. You can scan our QR code from the screen to join our quiz competition. After quiz competition, we proceed to our question and answer session. After that, we move to our certification process. Already 21 participants join with us. We start our quiz competition in a short time. Let's start our quiz competition now. Our first question: where can I search for high quality journal articles about nutrition? Is it library and government database or opposing viewpoint in contest? 96% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is library and government database. On the leaderboard, top one is Alex Javier Alvarez, and the following Maribi and Ashok Kumar Udhikari. Our next question is: academic research aims to only test a theory or expand the existing body of knowledge. 96% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is expand the existing body of knowledge. For the question number two, the top one is Alex Javier Alvarez, and the following Lizel Gabaldon and Lee Pakunla. Our next question is: a research problem is a problem that needs to be researched or an issue or concern in education. Only 21% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is an issue or concern in education. On the leaderboard, top one is Joel Barnaso, and the following Catherine and Emily. Our next question is: qualitative research questions are proceed, process oriented or indescriptive. 81% of our participants give the right answer, and answer is process oriented. On the leaderboard now, top one is Joel Barnason. Our next question is: determine quality of the research is to support the argument being made. Well grounded info, is it valid or invalid? 100% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is valid. Our next question is: research misconduct refers mainly to fabrication or falsification of research result or errors in data analysis or interpretation. 86% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is fabrication or falsification of research result. Our next question is: what is market research? Is it identifying the position in the market and improvements, or investigate systematically? 64% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is identifying the position in the market and improvements. Our next question is, what is primary research? Is it conducting the research firsthand or research which is primary? 89% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is conducting the research firsthand. Our second last question is, this question will help you know what to research. Is it basic or inquiry? 96% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is inquiry. Our last and final question is, as a researcher on completion of a research project, the researcher has to do all except, is it publish the finding or inform the findings only to participants? 79% of our participants give the right answer, and the answer is inform the finding only to the participants. Congratulations of our top 10 participants. Thank you everyone for participating our quiz competition. Top 10 quiz competition winners get their quiz certificates. The participants are download their certificate from our Facebook page. Now we proceed to our question and answer session. Thank you, sir, for waiting on the backstage.
No issues, absolutely. It's my pleasure answering these questions. I'll be happy to know.
Dear participants, it's our question and answer session time. You can send your question in our comment box. Our speaker are ready to answer the question. After question and answer session, we move to our certification process. Sir, our first question from Mary Juliet Della. What you will do if the policy market don't approve your research proposal for so many times?
Uh, Very interesting one, of course. And of course, you need to, when your policymaker is not approving your research proposal, definitely there is some lacuna in your research or in the proposal itself. So concentrate on few focus points. There are a few focus points which I normally look into in a particular research proposal is what is the origin of that particular proposal, what is the status of the work, right? So concentrate on reporting the literature thoroughly, and if possible, try to give it in a tabular form so that you can improve upon, or any reviewer can easily see it, that what is the status of the work, and if it is possible, highlight upon the limitations of the existing topology, so that you may immediately write upon the research gaps, and the research gaps must be thorough enough to develop your objectives of your research, right? And after that, you should clear cut mention the methodology of the work and the plan of the work. This is how the breakdown of a proposal goes about. And definitely, if there is a lacuna that has been pointed out, or some review comments being suggested, definitely take it in a positive way. No reviewer has any grievance on you to reject your research proposal. Definitely, it has happened to me as well. When we started research, we had 10 to 12 desk rejections as well. Even when our students initially start submitting the papers, we too get desk rejections. So not absolutely an issue. You can submit it in a different funding organizations if it is a research proposal in for a funding opposition. And if you are submitting it for any institute, definitely you have to look for appropriate funding opportunities, or you may fit in the call for the proposals, right? If I am not mistaken by your question, that you should absolutely emphasize on the call of the proposal, the where you are submitting, which target audience you are fixing for your proposal to be defended. Do not take it, it's not in anyone's favor or anyone's disgrace that you have been rejected. I too have my paper getting rejected till this day. Okay, I am into research for the last almost 12 13 years, so I too get test rejections. I too get rejections from the different reputed channels as well. If it's a research proposal to a funding agency, or if it's a research proposal to any institute, we keep patience and try to improve upon your work so that you can reflect more, and you will be able to touch upon the origin of the proposal, the necessary literature review, and the gaps in the research has to be identified. Maybe the problems is there with the gap of the research, with the objective not defined properly. So try to look into these issues and try to come up with a good proposal. Over to you, Kamran.
Thank you, sir. Our next question from Marilla and Taman. Hello, sir Ganguly. What makes the research problem challenging to the researcher?
It depends upon how you formulate your problem. I don't know which research background you are from. Say, for example, we take it up as a challenge that we should execute some uh, common societal problems, and must highlight upon the importance of that particular research, or highlight upon the novelty of the work, and try to put in some 4 or 5 points at least, which will be my research highlights for any proposal or any research article that we are submitting. It depends upon the research problem. Definitely, you may be having a different background with respect to me, but from my background, I look into these things. Uh, 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 my objective of work, or the aim of the work, should be defined properly. The highlights of the work must be clearly emphasized, and the methodology must be known to the reviewers, whoever is reviewing that particular proposal or research article. Those should be absolutely clear and thorough with that. So these are my challenges, and how we can overcome that particular challenges and get to a good research article, or a good or a quality research proposal. Over to Kamrul.
Thank you, sir. Our next question from Evelyn Oiferi. Good afternoon, sir. How do we ensure authenticity of research article? and thank you.
Uh, Thank you, ma'am, for putting up this question. Definitely, we have the certain softwares like Turnitin and uh, I authenticate. These are the commonly used in India. We use also Urkund is a software which is there to check your originality of your work. So these are some of the plagiarism softwares that you may come across. It is of course not freely available at your institute. At the institute level or at the researcher level, it may not be available for you. But your professor, your mentor, or your supervisor may be having the access, or your head of the department or your dean research may be having the access. Whichever way you want to pursue the research ahead, definitely check into the authenticity or the originality of your work and your research article which you are writing, and definitely look into this thing that it is not self plagiarized as well. Self plagiarizes is plagiarism is not acceptable these days. So you need to look out on these issues and validate the authenticity, because you must be knowing that how many lines you have written on your own, or how many lines you have copy pasted from some articles. So definitely authenticity you must be able to defend better. But still, some helping softwares are there. Some softwares are readily available in the form of Turnitin, in the form of I authenticate. So these are not freely available softwares. These are mostly hired by the institutes, and your dean research or your heads, your mentors may be having the access. As a research scholar, you may not be having the access of those things, but it is preferable that you prior check before sending or submitting your article to any particular quality top quality journal.
Thank you, sir. Our next question from Innocent Dozen. What are the key things a good abstract should contain?
Uh, Dear participant, I was already telling you about this during my discussion as well. That your abstract is the first thing that your reviewers or your editorial board always checks. So there are 3 or 4 points which I have already mentioned. I'll repeat you if you have not listened to that thoroughly, or if you have not been able to connect it online during that particular phase of time in which we discussed. There are 3 or 4 things which are 4 highlights which we make it a successful abstract. First is the objective of work. The first sentence should carry the objective of your work. The second and the third sentence may be carrying your methodology, how you have carried out that particular work. The third is the outcome, or if there is any quantitative outcome, preferable to reflect it quantitatively, some outcome, so that your method is better than some XYZ methods are existing in the literature. Some percentage comparison, definitely quantify that particular improvement, that how much improvement you have received or how much accuracy you have improved for that particular work using your method. And the last but not the least, you must also mention the limitation or the assumptions that you made for this particular work, or the significance of the work, and if possible, if you mention the future scope of that particular work. These 3 or 4 things are equally essential, and those are the things that we normally look into in checking your quality article. Over to Kamrul.
Thank you, sir. Our next question from Mary Juliet Della. What are the things we need to consider to formulate an interesting research topic?
See, for example, I have to specify a certain example to make you understand. Whether you understand it not, I don't know which background you are from, but still I'll try to address in such a way that you are able to understand. Say, for example, there are 2 areas I'll define. One is the metaheuristic techniques, which I love to work on. Metaheuristic techniques are nature-inspired algorithms. Basically, they are inspired from certain activities, say some prey-catching activity of some animals, or some behavior of some grey wolves, or gorilla troops, or something of that sort. So these are inspired by some physical or natural phenomena, right? And when we look into the insights of this, preferably we move on for developing something new from that. Okay, So Formulate new from that obvious things that are new, that whether we can combine this particular algorithm, a new nature inspired technique, or how do we make improvements in this technique. So obvious versions are some chaotic maps are injected in the metaheuristic techniques, some modifications that we carry out in their exploration and exploitation steps in order to improve it further, so that the convergence rate is reduced or the convergence speed is improved, the results are improved, right? So we look into certain modifications or certain improvements. We can also combine it with other nature inspired techniques to make it a better algorithm, but those decisions must be taken beforehand, before we are able to reflect on the result and do it, perform some experimentations and try to validate that, right? Always it is not always successful, obviously, but there are some obvious conclusions. Say for example, when I see an algorithm, I take it that what are the improvements that I can make in that particular algorithm, right? Say for example, you want to improve it in a different way. Say for example, I work on a domain which is a unification of continuous time and discrete time systems, which is a unification of continuous and discrete time system. When I look into this particular method, there are several numerical techniques which are basically your numerical integration techniques, which we normally use in order to develop some new formulations of that particular transform theory. And the essence is absolutely mathematics. It is a simple logarithmic series that we use and develop new mathematical formulation. So you have to cultivate on the topic in order to come up with some new ideas and develop new strategies, develop new notions that will enrich the literature already existing. Over to Kamru.
Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful answer, and thank you very much for sharing your valuable knowledge with us and giving us your valuable time. Thank you, sir.
Okay, fine. Have a good day.
Dear participants, today our program name is The Art of Preparing Quality Research Article, and today our program code is IGP 3763. The code is IGP 3763. To download your certificate, you have to go to our website. Our website address is eduigp.com and the code is IGP 3763. After downloading your e-certificate, don't forget to celebrate with IGP. Thank you very much for participating to the session and making this webinar successful. Thank you very much.